Dorothy Guining with Scrapbook in Quebec. Today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd Online Shop. I'm going to be creating the layout you see on the screen, and I'm also going to be sharing an idea how to incorporate extra photos on a layout. Maybe those photos that aren't so good or they're kind of duplicates, but you still want them in your album. So here's what I'm going to be using. I have material from Carta's Winter Market collection, and I got all of this at the Scrapbook Nerd Online Shop. So I will put a link to the shop as well as everything I'm using in the description box below. So here's what's on my desk. I prepared that frame style foundation with 2 sheets of paper in advance. I gutted the back of it. There is a tutorial on my channel where I do that, so I will link that up below. I rounded the corners on the white paper. I matted 2 photos, and I have a handful of photos as well, and I'll work with that later on in this video. So I'm going to show you the paper that I selected for this particular project, and the printed paper all comes from a 12 by 12 collection pack. There are 12 sheets of printed paper in that collection, along with a 12 by 12 sticker sheet. That's what I'm showing you right now. There's the collection. But in addition to that, I also have the solid cardstocks that go with this particular collection. I like getting them with these collections. I find it really stretches them, for me anyway, the way I scrapbook. I also have this 6 by 6 paper pad for this particular collection. That's something I rarely get, but the Carta paper pads are really nice. I have these dies. Those are from Echo Park, and I also have some enamel dots. Now, my jumping off point was a sketch that I found on a Facebook group called Mini Kit Monday, and I really like this sketch simply because there is a pocket on it. That was really what drew me to this sketch, and the rest of it I kind of go my own way. So what I'm going to do right now is continue preparing my foundation page. So I'm cutting up a bunch of strips of paper here, and I'm going to be creating kind of like a layered border. I will put measurements for everything I'm doing on the screen, but I want you to take note. The measurements, for example, the length of them all is all going to be at 11.5 inches, but I left all the strips at 12 inches for the time being. I'm going to wait until I adhere them all together, and once they're all together, then I'm going to trim it down to 11.5 inches. I find it's easier to make a more precise border that way. Also, I didn't mention I inked all of the edges of the paper strips, and I will list the ink I used in the description box below as well. So there you see me adhering it all together, and like I said, I'm just going to trim it all at once. I just find it makes a nice, cleaner border doing it that way. Now what I'm going to do is create that pocket that I showed you on that sketch a little bit earlier. I'm just adding a little bit of ink to the sides of this border first, and I'm going to go through that 6 by 6 paper pad and find myself a piece of paper for that pocket. I end up going with that green there, but I'm still looking at this point, and what I'm going to do is trim it down. It's going to be 6 inches wide, but I just trim it down a bit to 5 3/4 inches, and then I'm going to get out my big shot, and I'm going to cut a scoop of it out. I'm going to use a circle die for that, and it makes a really fun pocket. Now, before adhering it, you're also going to see me get out that very same ink, and I'm going to ink the edges just so that it matches the other pieces of paper on the page. And again, what I'm going to do after that, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here. When I was cutting out strips of paper, I also cut out a 1/2 inch strip of that striped paper, and I'm going to put a strip of it at the bottom of that pocket. I had already inked that as well, and it's just a repetition of that striped paper that's at the top of the border. So I'm adhering all of this to the page a little bit towards the bottom of the page, and when I adhere the pocket, it's important to watch how I do it in order to get it straight. I like to use a really super sticky adhesive when I adhere anything interactive to a page, and I consider a pocket interactive. So what I'm doing is adhering this tape on 3 sides so that I create a pocket. But you notice I'm only peeling away the wax paper for the bottom part at this point. I'm positioning it on the page, making sure I get it straight, And it's only then that I peel off the wax paper from that adhesive on the sides. I find it easier to get my piece on straight doing it that way, as opposed to having all three sticky sides sticky at once. So I've adhered my photos, and now what I'm going to do is create 3 tags. So that cardstock there is Basil Marshmallow cardstock, so it's really heavy duty. I didn't want a flimsy cardstock for this because I am going to be adding photos, and it is going to be an interactive part of the page. So what I'm doing is I'm putting measurements for the tags on the screen, but I'm making my own tags here. So all you see me doing is tracing the corners from a pre-made tag onto the strips of paper that I cut. And then I'm going to trim these corners, and it's going to give me 3 nice tags. And then what I'll do is simply punch a hole at the top in the middle of each one of these tags. Like I said, these are going to be the interactive components on my page that are going to be tucked in this pocket. So at this point, I'm adhering just 2 photos, and I plan to reserve one of the tags, the most narrow one, for my journaling. You're going to notice later on I end up adding a 3rd photo to this and my journaling as well, but you'll see that at the end of this video. At this point, I'm going to create reinforcers for my tag. So I take a hole punch and a 3/4 inch circle punch, and I punch out myself 3 rings. So I'm going to adhere those around the holes of the tag. It just makes a nice finished tag. There was a little bit of white edge around that cardstock there, so I'm just inking it a bit. It's a great way to, correct little imperfections. Add ink, it just seems to correct everything. So I'm adhering this. I will add strings later on in this video, but I'm not going to do it right now. I often wait to add the reinforcers towards the end of the page, but this really does have a decorative impact and an important impact on the page. So I wanted to do that right away before continuing ahead with embellishing and my title. So now you see me getting out my art bin, and I cut out my title in advance with 2 different dies. So those large ones are from Pink Fresh Studio. They are the Adore Alpha collection. And the smaller ones are from Lawn Fawn. They are the Oliver Stitch die. Super, super nice. And what I'm showing you is that for the smaller dies, I punched out 3 of each letter and adhered them together to create kind of a thick letter, almost a homemade thicker. And this set also has numbers, so I also punched out the year. And I adhered them all to wax paper so that I could play around with placement. So my title is Winter Walks 2021. And now what I'm going to do is get out all of my embellishing. So I have stickers like I showed you earlier. I have those snowflake dies. I have those enamel dots. I've got my 6x6 paper pad handy. And I am going to use that 6x6 paper pad to cut out those snowflakes. So I'm going to flip through that paper pad and find myself some paper. I know a lot of people have trouble using up their 6x6 paper pads, or at least I hear they do. I don't have that many of them, but the ones I do have, I don't seem to have any problem using them. What I do is I store them with my collections, and I use them a lot for die cutting and layering and photo mats, and in this case a pocket. So I just wanted to point that out. Maybe it's because I store them with the 12x12 collections. Maybe that's why I tend to use them more. So you can see I have put some stickers on some wax paper, and I'm creating a cluster in that pocket in the bottom right. And now what I am going to do is cut out some snowflakes. So I'm going to cut it out in that blue paper that I selected, which is the same color as that blue paper that's on my foundation page. It's just smaller. And often in these paper packs, the motif on them, the 6x6 paper packs, is the same, it's just at a smaller scale. So what I did was I continued cutting snowflakes, and I did some in the green as well. And now what I'm doing is kind of creating my embellishment clusters. Essentially what I'm doing is having these snowflakes pop out of that pocket of tags at the top. I put one at the bottom. You're going to see I end up coming in at the very end and adding some more, but at this point I only have the blue ones. And I'm adding this wink of Stella in clear. So it's basically adding a little shimmer to these snowflakes. So it's kind of pretty. I stop the camera and I continue doing this, but it basically dried right away. And now I'm going to start adhering all of these pieces to my page. Now for the snowflakes, I'm using this adhesive called Sticky Specs. I've had it for a few years. It's by Ecstasy Crafts. It's really messy, but it does pick up adhesive onto detailed pieces, so it's good for the snowflakes. And as you can see, I'm adhering the 2021 at the bottom. I started hearing the title. I am going to stop the film and continue doing it. I do like the fact that I did walks in 3 layers of cardstock, because maybe you'll see it in the stills at the very end, but it does bump it up a bit and it does have a nice look to it. So now I'm continuing with these snowflakes here, and I will come in and add some of those enamel dots to the center of each one of those snowflakes. And then I'm coming in with this twine. This is from Lawn Fawn, and it has like a silver sparkle in it, so I thought that looked kind of nice with the snow. And I'm almost finished here, actually. I'm just going to show you those tags. I end up putting some stickers at the bottom, which was kind of fun. That row of trees that you see at the bottom, I end up peeling it off. I felt it was catching on my tags when I was putting them in and out. I do end up keeping the ones with those strips of words, but the ones with the trees, I ended up removing it. So I wasn't sure if that was such a great idea. I come in with that little word sticker at the bottom. That gets removed too, and it ends up going on one of the tags. So now I've done my journaling, you can see, and I've also added that one of those 2 extra photos. So I've got 3 extra photos on this page, and I'm really happy with it, actually. The only thing I haven't decided upon at this point is I have this pile of snowflakes beside me. Oops, I'm just showing you there. I did add 2 extra layers of cardstock underneath that photo that's in the middle, just to raise it up a bit. And as you can see, I've got those green snowflakes out, and I'm just trying to place them, wondering if I should or not. And in the end, I ended up doing so and adding a few more enamel dots. And that's it. This page came together really, really quickly. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be absolutely thrilled if you did. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I'd be thrilled as well. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the Scrapbook Nerd Online Shop. They're getting new stuff all the time. Have a fantastic day, and I'll be back soon on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.